Okay, the series continues. Okay, in this particular video, I am going to show how to retopologize a pair of pants in Sketch Retopo. And I might even throw in QuadriMesher in this video as well, or I might make that a separate video. We'll just see how things go. Okay, so you're in Marvelous Designer and you've designed your pants, right? And you designed it in the T-pose. Okay. Well, first thing, when you go to retopologize pants, many avatar bodies don't have thigh gaps. Okay, they don't have thigh gaps, and this actually becomes a big headache for retopologizing and also for rigging. And so the easiest thing to do is to, when you create your clothing in Marvelous Designer, is to do it in the A pose. But if you didn't do it in the A pose, it's real simple to fix. All you have to do is if you've exported out, like I did in my other videos, avatars in different positions as OBJs, really easy. This one right here is this avatar in the T pose. You know, here's the same hourglass avatar in the A pose. You know, the one that we were starting with is in the T pose, and the one we want to get to is we want to get our pants into the A pose. So all you have to do is hold down the left mouse button, drag it over onto the scene, let go. You can save it if you want. You're not saving the avatar, just it's asking you if you want to save the scene, and I'm just going to say no. And you load it as a morph target, and you can change the number of steps between. The default usually works just fine, and then you just click OK and watch what happens. She starts to morph into the different body position, and it's running the simulator at the same time, and so now the pants have a little bit of a thigh gap. So that will be much easier to retopologize and to rig. So once you've done that, now the bad thing about doing this is if you have very loose flowing pants, the gravity is going to pull the pants straight down. Okay, so what you would do in that case, if you didn't want it to move, is you could freeze. I believe there's a thing in here where you can kind of like select an area and freeze it. It's kind of like starching it with spray starch, and that should hold the shape better when the legs go farther out apart. But that's, you know, it's been a long time since I did that. I think that's somewhere in here where you sort of freeze it. I can't remember exactly where it is, but those of you who are really into Marvelous Designer, I'm sure understand you select an area to sort of freeze it so it becomes stiffer and it doesn't change shape. But as the legs move out, it will get you in the right position and you'll get this thigh gap here. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to select what I want to export out and go File, Export, Selected. And I'm going to just put it on the desktop. Video pants. And these are the settings. I use single welded, thin unified UV coordinates, DAS, Z up. I have it set up for Z up. And I click OK. Alright, so now we go over to Maya. Okay, now here we are in Maya. Now I had originally exported these pants out in the T pose. As you can see, there's no thigh gap. Okay, now I'm going to import the other one. Actually, this is what we'll do. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to import it. Video pants. Okay, now when you export it out of Marvelous Designer, with Z up, it doesn't have it rotated the right direction. So we're just gonna rotate it to 90 degrees. And we're going to freeze transformation. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll do it first in QuadriMesher, because that's actually the very fastest way you can do it, is in QuadriMesher. And then I'll demonstrate Sketch Retopo. Okay, so I'm going to open up QuadriMesher. And with QuadriMesher, I use hard edges. So I'm going to first soften, because it comes in with hard edges. Well, actually, it's not coming in with hard edges, but I'm going to change this to all soft edges just so I get the nice. When you import OBJs, these lines, you get solid lines. There is a display setting in your preferences that will make them hard. Let me find that setting real quick and I'll show you. Okay, so I opened up my preferences, which is Window, Settings and Preferences, Preferences. I went down here to Polygons under Display, and you can see Edges. I have it set to Soft. And I believe, yeah. And then you just say, Save. Now when I make these all soft edges by going to Normals, Soften Edge, and click on it. Now you can see that the soft edges are displayed with dashed lines. And it will make it so much easier for you to be able to see the hard edges. Now one way we can see, if we just double click, we don't get the line. We're going to want to make, we're not going to get it there either. So the easiest, fastest way, which I've shown in my other videos, to harden these edges, you want an edge loop straight down the middle and straight down the sides, basically right where your seams were in Marvelous Designer. Easiest, fastest way to do that, at least as far as I've been able to find, is select all the UVs, go select, convert it to select border shell. Right? After you've done that, you can then go to select, convert selection to contained edges. Okay, once you've done that, see, now we have everything that we want selected. And then now we can harden the edge. And if we go back to object mode, you can see now these are hardened edges. And these are what QuadMesher is going to be using as the guides. And let's say these pants will go 1500. And we'll leave it at adaptive count. I like leaving this on at 100. You can play with this if you want. Well, let's try it without adaptive count. And just click Remesh. And there you got it. It's that fast. You know, you can later on add more edge loops in here. Real easy if you wanted to. Or you could do this. Okay, I Control Z back. Whoops. Okay, let's delete that. Okay, say we know we want to have more edge loops in this area here, right? You know, because that's the knee area. Usually need more edge loops in that area. Well, one way you can put them in is you could select the faces, right, in that area. And then let's go to the right. And then we can take here, go to Cut Faces tool with using a plane. And you could go, like right here is about where the middle of the knee is. And you could go like that. Let's see. I'm just trying to get it on an angle. There we go. And you can say, okay, I know I'm going to want one there, there, there. We're just making sure we're getting enough edges in this area where the knee is so we get nice, good deformation of the knee. So that's 1, 2, 3. There's 5. Okay, and we will do the same thing for this area. There we go, and we will do sort of the same thing here, right in the middle of the knee. Whoops. Higher, higher, and there, and maybe there. Okay. Let's see. Well, let's Control Z, take that one out. I'm trying to make them more even. There we go. Okay. So then we need to go into edge mode, and we can just double click on them. When you cut them through, you can just double click on these. And I'm just holding down the Shift key and double clicking with the left mouse button to select them, and I'm going to harden the edges so that they'll act as guides. Okay. Alrighty. Now you could even cut an edge going on an angle like that if you really wanted to. If you really wanted to, but it should work just fine without it. Like I said, you can play with this and develop your own strategies of where you want edge loops to go. And we could say remesh it. Okay, it's actually looking pretty good. We might want to increase it a little bit, because since we added edge loops down here, it kind of pulled some of the edge loops from up here, which actually, this is actually looks fine. It looks nice and smooth. Okay, but if we wanted to add just a little bit, we can do that. So I'm going to Control Z to get back to where I was before, because it always, you lose the original when you do it. I always Control Z back, so I have the original and the redone one. So let's try 2000. It's a little better. See, then I Control Z and I get back the original. Okay, so let's try 2500. That's better. That looks pretty good. Whoop, maybe a little bit more, because we need a little more in here. Now, we could always come in here. Let's Control Z. See if we only have one mesh there. So by Control Z backwards, we get the original back, but we still can keep our one that was created. But I'm going to not need that one, so I'm going to delete it. Okay, so we could come in here to use vertex colors, and then we go to color, and we go to paint color vertex colors, open up the options. Okay, right now it's set at 1, so nothing's going to happen, so let's make it double, so 2, and you see this color changes over here. Okay, and so I'm going to come here and I'm going to start to paint this area. And the more vertices you have, the slower it paints. Or for when you move your brush for it to show up. Okay. So now, bring it down a little bit there. Okay. There we go. So now when we do it, it's going to make more vertices in that area. So let's remesh it. It did a little bit, but it's still not that great. I think I'm going to turn on adaptive. See, this is the great thing about this is you can play around with it a little bit. There we go. Get rid of that one. Let's turn on adaptive. Let's bring this back down to 1500. Adaptive means it's going to increase the number of quads. There we go. Yeah, it's much better. So adaptive actually worked better. Sometimes adaptive works better. Sometimes, you know, sometimes not. I could have also had painted the knee area to twice as much to get more quads in this area. Just like that. You don't have to, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me Control Z back. I'm going to move this one to the side. And let's take this one and why is that rotated slightly? That to 0. There we go. Just accidentally rotated it. Okay. And let's try. You can try even a smaller target count with adaptive and see if that makes a difference in the number. Yep, see 32, 26. And I'm getting that number from up here. That's the number of triangles. That looks better. I think this one's more reasonable than this one. So awesome. So you can see how fast that was. And like I said, I could have played around with softening these edges back to where they were soft and then painting in double as many quads in this area. Well, in fact, why don't I do that? What the heck? You have nothing better to do, right? And watch a 5-hour-long video. Let's see. Okay, so that's the original. Let's take this and move this to the side. That's the great thing about QuadriMeshers. You can try a number of things over and over again. See, what I could do is say to select this whole area for all the edges and soften them. See, now these edges are soft. They're not going to be used as guides anymore. And then let's come to our paint tool, right? Oh, wait a minute. We got to be in object mode first. Come to our paint tool. And we'll try the twice as many. I'm going to make the brush a little smaller. There we go. There, and now we did get the inside. Okay, let's do this one. You want more, like I said, you want more edge loops in the knee area because that's where it bends. If you don't have enough, you'll get, when the avatar walks, you'll get poke through. So you need more edge loops in the areas where in the knees and the elbows and the shoulders than you would otherwise need in these areas, like this big flat area here in the thigh. You know, you want to make sure you have enough edge loops in here, deformation, which these other two pants had plenty because that's where it bends. Like I say, ideally you think where the human skin would normally bend and you follow that crease. So if you think of pants, they would more crease on a slight angle than straight across. At least that's what my Barbie doll does. Just joking. Let's see. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Yeah, and see, we got more in the area right where we painted, and more in this area because, you know, the butt gets bigger and smaller. Primarily bigger is what you're worried about. Having enough geometry in this area so that when it is stretched or scaled, it'll be fine. Okay, so actually these pants, I think, let's see, what do you compare these? 3200. See, and this is 2800. 28, or this would be a 5.6K pair of pants, and this is a 6.2K. So I'd actually go with this one. And it's pretty good, and it even came out pretty symmetrical. This does have symmetry. I could have turned on symmetry, and it would have perfect symmetry. Across the y-axes. But this looks nice. This came out really nice. And you saw it only took 22 minutes. No, that's because I'm talking and this and that. But you see, you done it pretty fast. Okay. So, okay. So let's retopolize in Marvelous Designer. Or actually, let's show you what you can do. Let me Control Z back so I get my original. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the original out of the way, move these out of the way, and I'm going to show you how you can get a little bit of a thigh gap if you forgot or say you don't want to do a pose. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you don't have a thigh gap, right? If you don't have a thigh gap in your pants from Marvelous Designer, and you want a thigh gap, because to retopologize this would be a nightmare. Even for QuadriMesher, you get faces going inside faces. See if we go inside. See this face, but this is from the other side, and that's a pain in the butt to retopologize and also to rig. So what you want to do is you want to open up your sculpt geometry tool. So let's see, sculpt geometry tool. I know it's in here. It's probably there and I'm just not looking at it. Hold on, I'll find it. Duh, I went right past it. It was right there, sculpt geometry tool. Or that's quad, no, just below it, sculpt geometry tool. Open up the options. You want to come down here to smooth along normal, and you can also try relax, but we'll see how this works. Make my brush a little bigger. Really get it in there. And yeah, start to smooth it a little bit. Got to get right in there. Make my brush a little smaller. Okay, actually what would have been better probably is I'm going to Control Z back. And I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I am going to let's see, let me go into, anyway, let's go select these vertices there. Okay, let me trim some of these. You really just want the vertices that are right between. Now I don't have camera-based selection turned on, so it's selecting all the way through the mesh. And you don't really want to smooth anywhere here in the crotch, so I just select it right below there. And now if I go to the Sculpt Geometry tool and I go Flood, that's better. There we go. Now we got a little bit of a thigh gap. And after you smooth, you can deselect the areas that are already done and say you want to, whoops, say you want to deselect even less and smooth that. Get closer and closer, and yeah, that's looking pretty good. Like I said, you can go through several rounds of smoothing and then slowly getting fewer and fewer vertices. There we go. Okay. So now that we have a thigh gap, then we could do the retopology on these pair of pants. And could do the exact same thing. So if you didn't want to do the A pose, you can do it in the T pose. Remesh it. And I'm going to hit escape. Okay, I forgot to soften the edges first. It was trying to calculate all these edges. Soften edge. Ah, excuse me, I had to pause the video to sneeze. Okay, then we'll remesh it again. And there you go. Now, like I said, I would have painted more vertices here in the knees and on the butt to make sure that, but look at that. And we didn't even have the hard edges set for the sides. Now the reason you'd want to set the hard edges for the sides is, I will show you here in just a second, to use them as guides, other than you get better edge flow usually by setting them to the sides. If I were to go to UV, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just select all. Oh, we already selected all. Duh! We already selected them all by doing that. Now you could have done them in the window, or I could have done them in here like I did right before. Okay, so, or before. Select border shell, and then harden the edges. Oh, I think I made a mistake. So I didn't do harden contained edges. Okay. Or convert to contained edges, I mean. Select convert to contained edges is what you want, not just edges. Contained edges, and then harden the edge. There we go. Everything looks good. And I'm not going to paint them because I'm just demonstrating the next part real quick. Okay, so say we were happy with that. Say we painted and you want the UVs. See, by using these edges as hard edges as guides, if you like the Marvelous Designer UVs, let me Control Z back to get the original. If you like the Marvelous Designer UVs and you want them for the retopologized version of the pants, if you use these edges as the hard edges, it means that when you transfer the attributes to get the UVs from the original, they will be perfect. So first you select the original, and you see I got the original selected here. Then what I do is I look for a spot where you see some poke through of the second one. Hold down the Shift key and left mouse click. And you have to do it in that order, the original and then the second one. I could have done it in the outliner if I had wanted to. Easiest way to figure out is you select them both at the same time and you go, oh, okay. The higher up the mesh is in the outliner, that's the original, right? So I want the original and then this Retopology. So original, hold down Control, not Shift. If I hold down Shift, it selects everything in between the two. So original, Control to select that, and because that's where we're copying from the UVs from the original mesh to the Retopo mesh, okay, or to that particular Retopo mesh. And then you come in here to transfer attributes. Okay, you come to transfer attributes. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to bring that there. Transfer attributes. We're not transferring the position or the vertex normals. We're transferring the UV set. We're just going to do the current UV set, which is this is the one that's currently showing. Sometimes mesh has more than one UV set, and so you could do the one that's activated right now on your UV editor, or you could do all of them if you had multiple UV sets. Okay. World space, we're going to use the world space and everything off, and color sets off. Closest point, you could try closest point along normal, but since this is Retopo, I just use closest point, and you click transfer. And I don't know if you were able to see that in here, but it did transfer the UVs. Now if I go to select the original, and if I hold Shift and drag to select the Retopo one, now the Retopo one has the same exact UVs as in Marvelous Designer, and it's absolutely the same. Now there is a, let me turn on wireframe unshaded. Wireframe unshaded. Okay, if you select the original, you can see the Retopo one, the edges turn pink. That indicates there is a connection between the original and the one that you transfer the UVs to. That means there's a connection made between the two. And because there's that connection, if I were to move the original, it would recalculate where the UVs are because it's going by closest point on the mesh, and that would mess up your UVs on the Retopo. Okay. That would mess up the UVs on the Retopo. I will demonstrate. Let me move this up a little bit since I let go. And see, they're all messed up now because it's going by closest point on the mesh. So let's Control Z back, and now they're back to it. So what you want to do is just select the meshes, both or one or the other, and just go delete history. Now, for those of you who found this video who are not Second Life users or are not MayaStar users, my plugin, that's why MayaStar delete history. It's the same as coming up here, edit, delete by type history. One of the things I did in my plugin is try to gather all the most commonly used functions that you're going to be using in rigging, so that you don't have to hunt all over the place to delete history or to smooth bind and all that kind of stuff. There are a ton of other things that are not available in Maya. That they're geared towards Second Life. Female appearance editor for sliders. These are the sliders, appearance sliders for Second Life. That is not in Maya anywhere. Okay, there's like 30 different things in MayaStar that are not found in Maya. So yes, there is a lot of stuff that is in Maya, such as freeze transformation and go to bind pose. Although this go to bind pose is I made so that you don't have to select a bone, it selects the pelvis bone for you. Add bones to skin cluster, that is something that is in Maya, but I put it in a more convenient place. Auto mesh resizing is not. I created that. So there's a ton of stuff in here. My animate, scene exporter, so yeah. The dev kit import, mainly the dev kit prepper that fixes it, that's not found in Maya. That's something that I or my partner wrote to make it more. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just responding to some criticism that I've received, that it's like they said that everything in MayaStar was just stuff that was already in Maya, and that's just not true. My animate light isn't in Maya. Scene exporter isn't in Maya. The sliders aren't in Maya. I could go on and on and on. These tools are. Custom bind pose isn't. To create a custom bind pose, that was already in Maya, so you could change the bind pose of the mesh that so it's like I said, it just auto mesh resizer is not a standard Maya thing. So it's so anyway, just a little bone to pick with somebody. So okay, so now you got the UVs and you've deleted the history. Now if I wanted to, I can move, whoops, sorry. Now I could move either one and they're not going to lose their UVs. Okay. So that is how to retopologize. I think I'll make another video. I was going to do sketch retopo in this video, but this video is already 38 minutes long. I'm going to show how to sketch retopo in the next video, a pair of pants. These same pair of pants. So awesome. So we will see you in the next video.